Monkey Tales.
Anansi meets Father Thunder. Retold by Monkey Tales. There was a famine all over the islands of the Caribbean. Famine was here in the Bahamas, Jamaica, Barbados, Grenada. Every single island out there, from near and far. Anansi did not know where his next meal would come from. He was walking along the beach with his hands on his empty stomach, just rubbing it and rubbing it, when his hungry eyes caught sight of an island out at sea. It was lined with cocoa plum trees, coconut trees, grape trees, and banana trees. He had never seen this island before. It just appeared from nowhere.
Oh yeah,
He thought.
lots of fruit trees.
But how was he to reach the island? He soon found an answer to his problem. Further along the beach, he came across an old broken down boat that was owned by poor Uncle Ben. He had just died yesterday from old age. He was 100 years old, and nobody in the settlement wanted to use a dead man's boat before he was buried and laid in the graveyard.
No, boy, I ain't getting that boat. You mussy fool. I want Uncle Ben to come and hide me.
He said out loud. But it was hard times, and Anansi was desperate. He was hungry, and he needed food now. He took the boat and shoved it into the sea, and a great wave buffeted back onto the land. Hunger prompted him back on his feet to try again. He was soon sailing to the island. Anansi paddled hard in the direction of the island. He could see the cocoa plums, black ones, yellow ones, and white ones. Hairy coconuts were everywhere. Nice, fat, juicy, ripe, green, and ripe bananas. He licked his lips. He could almost taste the coconut milk. He jumped eagerly onto the land and tied his boat to the coconut tree. He grabbed the fat, juicy sea grapes and put them in his pocket. Then he climbed up the coconut tree. He soon reached the coconuts and started to cut them loose and drop them down into his boat. But oh no, every time he dropped a nut, it landed plop into the sea and sank straight down. Anansi's heart was breaking at the sight of the coconuts, heading for the bottom of the ocean. At last, in despair, he jumped off the branch and straight into the water.
Better to drown
He thought.
than die of hunger.
Down he went, straight down to the seabed. And oddly enough, he found he could breathe without any trouble. Here in the water, he saw a little cottage made of seashells. He knocked on the door, and it was answered by an old man with long white beard. "Who are you?" asked Anansi.
I am Thunder.
Boomed the old man.
Was it you who dropped coconuts on my roof?
I sorry, sir.
Said Anansi.
I cut the coconuts because I was hungry, and I mean for them to land on my boat. But they missed it, and they went into the sea on top of your house.
You're lucky you catch me in a good mood,
Replied Thunder.
or I might brew up a sea storm. Come in, I have something to give you.
Anansi stepped into the house. hoping for meal of lobster, fish, and conch. But Father Thunder had an even more wonderful gift.
Take this pot to your house,
He said.
and any time you are hungry, it will feed you. Just remember to say these words. Pot, pot, give me some food, please. I hungry.
And Nancy was so happy, he grabbed that pot and went on the boat. He paddled to the shore and then ran to his settlement. When he arrived back at his home, he took the pot straight into his room and said,
Pot, pot, give me some food, please. I'm hungry.
and the pot shook and hissed and steamed. It glowed red with heat and was soon full of food. For a hungry spider, it was the happiest sight in the world. He greedily gobbled down all the food and was about to call his family to demonstrate what the pot could do when he paused for a while and thought,
What if my family overworked this pot? It might break, and nobody in the settlement would be able to fix this magical pot. A pot that can cook is no good for anyone. No. This pot is strictly for me. I should keep it to myself and out of the greedy, grabbing hands of my children and relatives.
and with that selfish idea in his head, and Nancy hid the wonderful cooking pot. As the days of the famine went by, his wife and children grew thinner and thinner, while he grew fatter and fatter. But sneakiness ran in his family, and his eldest son, Kenton, decided to spy on his father and see why his belly was getting so big compared to the rest of the family. Kenton had the power of shape-shifting, which he used to turn himself into a fly and fasten himself to the corner of Anansi's room. At dinner time, he saw his father crept into the room, take out the pot, command it to cook, and then gobble up the magical food. Bzzz, he thought.
Oh, Papa is very sneaky.
He flew off to find his mother and tell her the secret that he had uncovered. When Mrs. Anansi heard of her husband's selfishness, she flew into a rage. Then she marched into his room, took out the magical pot from its hiding place, and carried it into the middle of the settlement.
Lined up, everyone, lined up, hungry folks. Come and get a bowl of soup,
She called out.
It's hot and it's free.
The people of the settlement came running out of their houses. The pot shook and sizzled and steamed and glowed redder and redder until boom! Boom! It exploded like a bomb and sent everyone diving for cover. And that was the end of Anansi's secret cooking pot. At first, he was furious when he learned what his wife had done. And soon, he was hungry again. So he said,
I should have to return to Old Man Thunder and ask him for another pot.
Once again, he launched the rickety old boat into the sea. The clouds were dark, and it looked like a storm might be brewing. The waves were choppy, and he had to paddle harder than before. He reached the island of coconuts and jumped directly into the water below the tree. All was calm below the surface. He knocked at the cottage of shells and found himself face to face with Father Thunder.
What do you want this time?
Father Thunder asked sharply, and Nancy told him what had happened, sparing many details about his son and wife.
Oh, I see,
said Father Thunder.
How bothersome your family is for you. Take this magical stick. It will serve you with the respect you deserve.
And Nancy gratefully received the gift, and the next moment he found himself back to his boat. He paddled furiously to the shore before the storm blew up. As soon as he hit the sand, he ran into the woods and found a quiet place to try out his magical possession.
Stick! Stick!
He said,
Do as Father said.
and the stick flew out of his hand and beat at Nancy. Oh, what a beating it gave him. Every bit he deserved. He ran back to his settlement, chased by the stick, whopping him all the way. And Nancy just kept saying, "Oh my bungie, oh my bungie, oh my bungie."
Monkey Tales.